Welcome to the Genius Alchemist podcast. I'm your host, Sarah McBride, and in today's conversation, I have invited on a good friend of mine, Graeme Waterfield. I've known Graeme now for maybe 8-9 years, and Graeme is a true energy master. And the reason I invited him to speak about wealth consciousness and money and scarcity mindset is because money and abundance and wealth is a frequency, it's energy. So I wanted to speak from that angle because that's the work that I initially did around this topic, so we could explore it together in that way. Graeme's got over 20 years experience as a teacher and a coach, but he's actually been on his own journey for 30 years now. And through that, he's become a qualified yoga, tai chi, qigong and meditation teacher. He's also got a background in counselling. He offers somatic work as well as psychological and energetic tools to help you transform yourself and your life to become everything that you want to be. Graeme guides you into self-actualization and shows you how to meet your greatest potential as a human being. He does this through ancient technologies and modern psychological approaches, which awakens your inner potential, finds the power to overcome adversity and maximize all areas of your life. And he does this predominantly through his energetic skills, which I would say are second to none. So, let's get to it. Hi, so in this episode, we have the amazing Graeme Waterfield, who is an energy master, someone I've known for, quite a while. So about 7 years, maybe a bit longer.
Even longer.
Yeah, Capucha days. And someone I consider an absolute master in his field. So I'm really honoured to have you on today, Graeme.
Thank you, Sarah. It's funny. I'm getting used to receiving that, and I had a lot of my teachings, have come from different directions, but sometimes my subconscious mind appears in dreams. And a few years ago, I remember in this, I had a dream, and this person, this kind of master in the dream, came up to me and said, "You're I think he said a great yogi or an energy master, something like this." In the dream, I turned to the woman I'm sat next to and said, if I'm a great master, we're all stuffed. And then in the dream, we both start laughing. But then in my dream, this teacher spins round, looks at me, points at me in a really stern way and says, "Stop it." As in, stop denying your own power. And so that's a journey for me. So thank you. I feel like I can receive that a little bit more than I used to. So
that's amazing. And receive away, because the experience and everything that you've got, and we've done lots of swaps, healing swaps, and and coaching and stuff over the years. So I've experienced your powers firsthand. So you definitely need to receive that.
Thank you, Sarah. And I would say ditto as well. So thank you. Yeah, it's a mutual feeling.
Thank you. So the topic that I felt, we would be able to express most and best is around money, wealth consciousness, the energy of money, the energy of abundance, and where that comes from, and to share our experiences about it for the viewers, because it's it's something, as in fields where there's lots of spiritual or people or healers or people that are doing the work. It's interesting because you would think they're doing the work so these have a better relationship with money, but there's that tribal consciousness around money. And I know we've discussed this heavily around conditioning, that people go into almost martyrdom around money. And even if they're good at accumulating money, they're not good at keeping hold of money. Or there's beliefs that if you keep hold of money, then that's selfish. And it all ties in to energy. And I know we've discussed the energy of money at length. and what it means. So do you want to share some of your experience around that?
I would love to. Energy is great because I love, of course, being an energy person, everything's energy to me.
Yes.
So when I say emotion, I mean energy and motion. And when I say
Yeah.
feeling, I mean vibration and sensation in the body.
Mm.
I think all our personalities, I was describing in that dream before, that if I won't label myself as worthy of money or love or happiness or success, that's literally, for me, that's a feeling that I have in the body, and the feeling and the vibration turns into words and behaviors and thoughts and the way I act and what I believe is possible for me in the world. So to hold an idea that money is bad, or I shouldn't earn money, or that literally becomes a feeling within the body. I talk about the chakra system that's related to the earth chakras, the root chakra. And so I literally weakened my ability. I thought I was so spiritual superior for years because I didn't have money.
Yeah.
So,
Can I just say, I find, and I've posted this before, more moral superiority within poor people, the more moral superiority within wealthy people. That's something that I've found. So I'm glad that you said that and touched on that.
yeah, it's so true. And it was weird because at one level I felt spiritually superior. And then I realized underneath that I felt spiritually inferior. But I think that, and so that would usually turn up. I would repeat, oh, people with money are not really spiritual, or they're bad, or da da da. And a lot of those mantras were also instilled in me in my childhood, from various experiences. But then I would notice below that was a kind of jealousy, like why doesn't God, the universe, life, Buddha, why doesn't that give me money? Because I'd be so good with it. I didn't realize that it was my own belief, the inherent belief, that literally wouldn't let the if you like, we could call it poverty consciousness, wouldn't let that abundance consciousness in. It was me that was blocking it. And it was only when I worked with you, actually, through the miracles that brought us together, and I mean, you cleared that in about 2 weeks. I went from being totally broke for 45 years of my life, to us working together, you literally instilling a new computer program in me that you're worthy of money, you're worthy of success, and within 2 weeks of my income trebled by itself, and in a very fun way. And then everything I thought I was going to achieve by being broke, being kinder, being, helping people more. When I had more abundance, I literally had more to give. I started to give even more of myself than I was able to when I spent 95% of my spiritual life meditating on, please give me more money. Why am I so broke? So yeah, I think there's an energetic feeling and psychological code in the body that is literally, when someone meets a coach like you that has worked through that within themselves, it's literally, you can download this software program. And when you can embody that, the ability to receive that abundance is actually beautiful, when that shifts, that feeling vibration, something magical happens, and it just all pours in, is my experience.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and thank you for that. It's interesting because what I picked up on, which we probably covered at the time, but when you said the jealousy, and then you're looking at God, Buddha, whoever, and you're saying, where's mine? Like, why haven't I got this? And it's interesting because this is a common belief of something outside of you is going to give to you that disempowerment. Now, although we embody God's consciousness and it's all within us, when we are not looking at ourselves with radical personal responsibility of what can I do? What is it? So you figured it out of, well, the belief is holding me back. But a lot of people are in this, get stuck in this pattern where they're disempowered. It's not fair. Life's not fair. Why haven't I got this? Well, what is it within you that's stopping you from having this? And that triggers a lot of people, especially people that have been through trauma, because they don't want to take the ownership of that. There's something within them because it's almost like, well, I've been a victim of trauma once. Do I have to be a victim of life now? When you get a choice, you get a choice to step outside of that, and you get a choice to receive. And most people as well, once they've been a victim of something once, it can be very painful. It can close you down, especially in the heart. And then you're not open to receiving, or you don't feel worthy, because if someone has done something bad to you and you're a victim of that, then all of a sudden that crosses over into other areas of your life. I'm not saying that was with you, but I'm talking about the genetic tribal consciousness that we have. But you showed a little bit of disempowerment where you said, why can't I have it? What is it within me? And then when you took full responsibility and loved what you were doing in the process, everything just shifted. It's a huge power play with money, huge. And people don't realize that, money doesn't go to good people or bad people. It doesn't work like that. Otherwise, we wouldn't have really rich criminals or, politicians, should we say. We wouldn't have really rich people if money only went to good. It doesn't go to good or bad. There's no bias in that way. It goes to power. That's why money is power. And people say, oh, they're powerful because they're rich, because money and power, they're magnets, go together. So we always have to look at within ourselves, when am I giving my power away? Or am I giving my power away? Life's not fair. Viewing things as unfair as well. Rather than that's either what I chose and signed up for before I was born, or it's the card I was dealt. How I deal with that and respond to that. So, it's amazing that you touched on that.
I think there's a saying that really echoes through my mind, and it's like, I think I'm coming to the conclusion at this part of my journey that evolution is an evolution of choice. It's like, the evolution of the amount of that, let's say, to choose how much love we let in, or to choose how much abundance we let in, or happiness or health. And then I noticed that there's limitations to all those things depending on my coding. I got using programming quite a lot, really.
Yeah.
And then when I changed the programming about how much love or happiness or health or well-being or energy or financial success I choose to let in without shame or guilt, it's like that propels my ideas and my sense of self, my sense of possibility, the choices I make, and then magnetizes me to unseen forces in my experience that seek to feed those belief structures. And so it's really amazing how, as I stepped up, say, let's look at the financial side, but as I stepped up after working with you with my finances and they started to roll in, I was so surprised at the amount of people that I'd really helped turning on me.
Wow.
And I was like really shocked. And a lot of those people were people I'd actually probably given the most support for free and what really started to become obvious to me is exactly what you're sharing, how I became their projection then of their own limitation. And instead of realizing, oh, wow, this is possible for me, there was that, oh, why is he favored over me? I must be, which was then projected outwards. And it's a really interesting phenomenon, this money thing.
I didn't know that has happened. I didn't know that has happened to you. I mean, I know it happens because I've witnessed it myself, but other people, and I liken it to, again, this the instinctual tribal mentality that we have. And if we were, likened to animals in the wild, which we can be, the sheep, the corrective behaviors, if one steps outside, then the corrective behaviors get in line. You're part of the pack. You can't step outside and act differently from the pack. And, I've seen and witnessed that so many times where people become fearful, like you're going to leave this comfortable pack that we've created where we can all talk about our woes and where we can all talk about, we can share our experiences and pains. But what? Hang on, you're not in pain anymore. What's going on? you know, and then it's like, no, you come back, you come back and share this space with us in this way. So yeah, I really didn't know that that's something that happened to you.
Yeah, it was fascinating to see, and it was such a lesson for me. Here's another thing I kind of came to see through that is that whenever I take an exponential leap in my finances, of visibility, wherever it is, always as I either start to make that leap or just before it, I attract loads of people in, or not loads actually, but there's people that show up in my life to stop me doing it. Like, oh, you're bad if you do this. And what I've come to realize, because I believe in this kind of what we could call law of vibration, is that they're fragments of me.
Yes.
They're like they're showing up perfectly to reflect to me what needs healing in me.
Yeah.
So when I stepped up my visibility, two or three people stepped forward and said, oh, you've become an egomaniac.
Wow.
Like sharing more photos of yourself on Facebook. Again, people I felt I'd helped and supported a lot. And what I came to realize after the initial fear response to that, and the fear response is, oh my God, they're on to me. I am an egomaniac.
Yeah,
So that was the initial, that's the initial fear.
Yeah.
And then I thought, oh my God, these are fragmentations of my own consciousness showing up in human form, so that I can experience them, process them through my nervous system, release them and say, actually, no, I'm not. And in a way, by facing them with a no, I'm not, I'm facing the barriers within myself with my own self-doubt. So in a way, they're sent perfectly to reflect to me my own limitation that can be felt, experienced, and then understood as not to be true. And so, and sometimes those people then block me. It's a strange reason.
They've blocked out your psyche, they've gone.
Yeah, they've gone. Or they understand and then go through a process themselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, because in my my containers, my group containers, which are focused on business, and I get people coming and saying to me, like other coaches, healers, therapists, whoever it's aimed at, and they say to me, I don't want to go through your inner work part. I've done enough inner work, been doing it 10, 15 years. And I'm like, okay, so I'm sorry, but you would be where you needed to be if you'd done the amount of inner work to get there. So, we've all got inner work. I'm still going through it. It's ridiculous just because I'm teaching you these things. And the first part, the basis of the work I start off with is aspecting. So aspect work. And it's like the thing that I am a big advocate of is your clients will mirror back your disempowering beliefs. People external will mirror back your disempowering beliefs. So we need to look at the aspects of self and understand ourselves to a greater degree to know what our aspects and fragments are, because otherwise we're going to be held back by them, and then they're going to show up, and then we're going to blame and go, oh, look at them showing up and being this way, instead of what within me is co-creating this reality and how can I shift it. So you've just explained that beautifully. So yeah, we're on the same page.
God, it goes so deep, doesn't it, Sarah? I think it goes deeper than thought, and it's only through really deep awareness we can really feel into those blockages, those little subtle driving factors where it's like, I was saying to a friend recently, like, I think the egoic consciousness works on what I call lead and gold. And so, I was speaking about this, about it's like the darkest part of our psyche says, if you do this, I will reward you. And if you do this, I will put you in pain. And so the path of least resistance can actually be to stay in poverty. Because there's a subtle level of our being that says, if you step into your power, I'm out of fear or limitation or belief. I want to keep you small to protect you, so I'm going to put you in pain. So it's like we have to go through some kind of initial pain barrier to step into a grander version of ourselves. So Yeah, that's what I experienced. So thank you for that reflection.
Something you touched on as well. Something you touched on around the almost like the energetics, the coding. And for me, that's something I talk about all the time, the embodiment. So the embodiment of the thing that you've learned, you put it into practice. Now you're qualified to teach it. It's not a regurgitation process. Now you're qualified to, and that's a big thing. What I see a lot of when I see people, they come off a course and then boom, like I'm teaching, I'm the best at this, UK's number one this, world's number one that, top leading expert in the field. And it's like, what's your experience? Not you've come off this course and you've got like the highest marks. And this leads me into your embodiment process of abundance. And I witnessed it because I was obviously part of it, and how you alchemized it so quickly. And I remember you saying to me, you felt the energetic shift in your body as we were literally speaking and talking through it. And you've now created a course for other people, which is completely, in your field with the energy harnessing, and especially for men. And, I know you do the specific one with men and how they can use their energy and sexual energy for abundance and creation, manifestation, and overcoming limitations. Do you want to speak a little bit about that as well? Because I think that's your embodied experience. Perfect.
Yeah, you see that I love the Taoist idea. Like the thing I had to get past was, I think in a lot of areas of my life I was quite balanced. I think I was good at accepting love and health and happiness. I had all those, I think, and the one that was really just limiting me was self-worth financially. And just very quickly, I remember literally a month before working with you, I thought, I'll put on a free workshop. And then, because no one's turning up for my paid ones, again, because of my story.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll offer a free workshop. And then the next week, I'll see if I can charge people £5 per head to come to my workshop, which is
but
fun.
all your 30 years of wisdom, embodied experiences.
Yeah, and I think I probably spent about £60,000. I've worked it out over that 30 years on training myself and refinement, And then I put the free workshop on, said to people, and this isn't a condemnation of me, it's a laughter of them, it's a laughter at me.
Yeah.
And so then I said, okay, I think 5 people showed up. And I said, okay, I'm going to put this on again next week, but there's an option to pay £5 next week. And then the following week, no one showed up. And it was like, wow, what's going on here? And so it needed and what was going on there is I was scared that I wasn't even worth that. So it was like, that was reflecting back to me. And so I think once I'd shifted that belief, as I started to bring what I call the Taoist energy practices I teach are ways of magnifying what I call our energy field, our full potential. And so, of course, in Western speak, that's called self-actualization. How can I become self-actualized, which means to meet the fullest potential of myself as an individual. Now, in the East, everyone kind of knows this, but just reiterating, they call that enlightenment.
Yeah.
And so then the Taoist perspective of working with sexual energy, or Taoist alchemy, is that at the core of our being, we're already actualized, which, Maslow said a similar thing, that, we're in every moment, we're actualized to the level at which we believe that we are, or we can be, and then so we have this self-actualizing tendency, which is the desire to grow and break those limitations. And so our core, we could say we're enlightened, we're self-actualized. And so the Taoists believe that too, that at the core of our being, we're magnificent. But what stops that is what they call in yoga samskaras, or we could call it our neurosis, or we could call it our self-perpetuated limitations, which show up in our energy body as samskaras, as blockages that stop us being able not to know that we're this beautiful soul or powerful being, but bring literally what we could call bring heaven to earth, which means to bring that into the body, physical, grounded experience of being into the world. So you see this in spiritual circles, and I'm speaking about myself here, going through years of mantras like I am a millionaire, I am abundant. So on the inside, there's a belief momentarily until the next bill arrives. I'm infinite abundance. I am a millionaire, and all the money in the universe is mine. And momentarily, we might feel that on the, wow, yeah, I can feel that. And then it's like, but then we step out into the world of reality and the 10,000 things, as they call in Taoism, and we just can't manifest that. That's the blockage. So what we could call bringing heaven to earth, or embodied enlightenment, or becoming our full potential, is the ability to remove those blockages to that chi, that energy, that prana, that ki within the energy system, chakra system, so that we can function at our optimal in the world. And so the Taoists and the yogis for thousands of years developed through trial and error, and mystical experiences, and all those develop these systems. And so my predominant practice tends to be both yoga and Taoism. So what I noticed with these practices was that it's much easier than we think, especially for men, to harness. I think Napoleon Hill talks about it in Think and Grow Rich. There's every single millionaire, every single successful man he met in the world had, I think he calls it the emotion. They had very powerful sexual emotion that they were able to transmute as opposed to leak and to waste. And so that this was the realization that all the masters, the spiritual masters, also had, that instead of leaking this energy through, one of the big things that's sweeping the world at the moment more than it's ever been for men is, addiction to erotic imagery. I won't use the exact words because I don't know about, like
I'm not very PC, so just what you want.
I just don't want to get it to be
listeners will know this by now. There's lots of swearing, there's lots of un-PC.
Well, so just using the word porn, so there's this epidemic of what we could call something that is so highly addictive to men that it literally, we leak our jing energy like constantly through the overstimulation of our sexual energy. Now, the Taoists like Napoleon Hill said, sexual energy is actually powerful. We don't want to we don't want to suppress that, and we don't want to waste it. So we don't want to be celibate and just ignore it and try and pretend it's not there, which, just like as Ram Dass, the American teacher, said, just ends up to us being horny celibates, that we're not having sex, but we're thinking about it all the time. We're just hypersexualized beings. That can happen when men suppress it. And then so the other option is, I've got all this tension, this sexual tension in my body, so I'll just release it all the time through porn, or through excessive fantasy. And again, I'm not holier than thou saying you should never do that. Some people like a McDonald's burger once in a while. But the Taoist perspective is you can actually transmute that. So instead of it leaking outwards and leading to a mind that's tired and fuzzy and not intuitive, a heart that's not really passionate and available because of an inability to feel that jing, that life force coming up from the base center, or lower dantian, as they call it in Taoism, these internal energy centers. Instead of that, if we can actually cultivate sexual energy, like as Napoleon Hill said, transmute it. In other words, bring it in and up instead of down and out. That transforms us. We have a different nervous system. And so that's really a self-actualized nervous system. It's like a part of being successful in the world is having an intuitive mind.
Yeah.
You know, part of it's having passion in the heart and a desire to create and move outwards. But both of those things, that it needs chi or energy, which is burning up from you know, speaking as a man, but burning up from the base chakra or the lower chakras. And so when we learn to harness that energy, we can use it in any way we want. So like in China, they take children with ADHD at school and have intense amounts of chi and physical energy. And they generally take them to Shaolin monasteries. They say, right, they're not going to do well in classrooms. They need to transmute their energy into the martial arts. Wow. And then someone who is a natural healer or empathic, they say, well, let's take them to be an acupuncturist or herbalist. In other words, let's transmute that energy through the heart chakra predominantly. And then someone who's very introspective, loves to spend time in silence and stillness. That's the what we could call the magician in the archetype. So let's take them to be a monk or a you know, a meditation master. So there's different ways of using that energy, but to be in the world, you know, to create a business, it's like having a superpower when we know how to bring the sexual energy in as opposed to leaking it out. And so that's in a nutshell what I teach men to do. So healers can become better healers, warriors can become better warriors, lovers can become better lovers, magicians can be better magicians. It's just a matter of chi, focusing life force. So in a nutshell, when I do these 8-week programs with men, that's what I'm teaching them to do, to reach their enlightened, self-actualized potential, to bring that life force energy through.
That's amazing, because it's needed, and it is abundance. It's how do we amplify what we want? How do we amplify what the positives that we've got? It's the amplification of all of that, you know, and it's definitely needed in the world now, but needed through the lens of someone with as much experience and embodiment of that you've got as well. Because, you know, Think and Grow Rich is great, but it's reading a book, you know, or listening to an audio. And this is why for me, like, and I say you're an energy master because it is that. And, you know, we all have our own ways of doing things, and a big part of, I feel like, my work, the code and the program, but it's also energetic, you know, it's the alchemy, hence the genius alchemist. It's alchemizing people's genius zone, you know, and that's where we have to move with the energy, harness the energy. And because we're both oracles, seers in that way, we can tune into that and we can see, and we, you know, and we can work with that. You know, so for me, I think it's really important that you work with men in this way to create that and cultivate that abundance, especially when the mainstream is a completely the other way, as you're saying, erotic imagery, OnlyFans, whatever it is that they've got available to them right now. And that's not to demonize any of that, but that's to say that that's there and that's what's available. So you're showing a path, a new way. And you've got that embodied experience, and you're obviously in a very amazing, loving, cultivated relationship with Sarah, because obviously I know Sarah as well. So, you know, I know the work that Sarah does, and also the work that you do together, which again, for me, is an embodied experience. So you're showing men, this is how we release the blockages and the energy to attain this. And okay, you work with me, but you also, by working with me, you have to still get rid of those blocks in your energy to be able to get to that level of abundance. And then on a relationship, you've got rid of the blocks in your energy to manifest and draw in this perfect relationship. I mean, no relationship's perfect, but if there was, I wouldn't say there was a more ideal couple to teach what you and Sarah teach in this field. With the energy and you know, and how that can be an expression as well. So it's almost like the journey of what you've said. It's like the self and the inner blockages and the removing blocks to abundance, the limitations, then moving into these men's workshops where you're helping men to get to that level and use and harness their energy. And then you've now moved into, as well as the men's work, the couples work together. And how would you say that fits into what we've discussed?
I love I love this analogy. I love the mystics. And I had a teacher that said pretty much this, the same as Mother Teresa said. She said, if you want peace in the world, you have to first have peace in yourself. And then, so in other words, we're our first project. Then she said, second, you need to have peace in your family. In other words, the people that you're surrounded by. That can be a family of friends or whatever, but then you have peace in the family. Then if you achieve that, if you can start to bring peace to the family, not that they may, know, in some of the families I see out there, not that the whole family might be peaceful, but perhaps if you can just have the chi and the wisdom to be an ambassador of peace within that context, then you can maybe start to have peace in the town that you live in. You can be a peaceful and then into the nation, then into the world. In other words, I think as I found how to have more peace in myself and love in myself, then naturally it's led to the ability to have peace in relationship. And the excitement thing of that work is, I'm a bit of a hippie like you like we both want to see a beautiful world, and you're so drawn to work with animals as well, and animal sanctuaries in that way. So I think that what excites me about the work that myself and Sarah are doing together is that it's a stepping stone, like family for me is the foundation of the world, because children are raised in a family and come through a family out into the world. So to be able to offer couples, the tools to fall more deeply in love, it's not just good for them, it's good for the children that come through that experience, and also those children go out to be in the world. So it's good for the world. So the exciting thing is partly the joy and the love that can be created in what I would call conscious and healing coupledom, whether that's making love, whether that's communication, whether that's creating things together. That's what excites me, the potential for how that could change the world, having loving families and couples.
No, I completely agree. And that is abundance in itself, isn't it? It's the abundance of love, of joy, and that's where everything comes from. And the more healed together the couples are, the more open they are to give and receive love, the more open you are to receiving, the more open you are to receiving abundance in all forms, not just love, not just joy, but also wealth, health, all of it. You can receive, then you open, you receive all of the goodness, rather than, well, I'll take that, but I'm not taking that. And, I'm not good enough for that. And that's something I talk about quite often as well, about when someone's got a real inability to receive anything. And I'm like, how can you be receiving of clients? How can you be receiving of not just money, but how can you be receiving of clients, of people coming forth and wanting to work with you, when you completely cut off to receiving? Because again, there's no bias with the universe. There's no bias in the way it works. It's not, well, we'll send you that, but we're not sending you that. If you're saying no to receiving one thing, what else are you saying no to unconsciously? So
I think as well, another thing as well, Sarah, is that like success is, I remember hearing a Deepak Chopra video. It's like 7 Laws of Success, when DVDs were still a thing back in the day. I'm becoming one of those people now. Oh, when we had tapes.
Well, I still talk about videos, so
blockbusters. So it's like, but I remember there's something really beautiful in there, and it said, success is not money. Like, money is a part of success.
Yeah, it's a consequence.
But success is happiness. Now, then you could say, but actually, you need abundance in my experience of finances and beautiful relationship to have happiness and good health, like ideally. So yeah, I think that's what true success is, to have abundance in your work, abundance in your love, abundance in your health. And if you have that health, wealth, happiness, and relate and love, that is a true millionaire, I think, on all
Absolutely.
levels.
For me, the first thing I get people to do is, what's your definition of success? Because there'd be times in my life when I definitely wouldn't be successful by other people's standards. When you can't afford certain things, or, you're struggling with cash flow in your business, whatever that looks like. There's been times when I've been through that, but I'm like, wow, how many lives have it changed? How many people have it touched? Because that was my definition of success. That was what kept me going, and that passion and the drive in the moment. If I was working just for the money, there'd be plenty of times I would have gave up. So for me, the finances is a consequence of living in alignment, purposeful passion,
Yeah.
and success in that way. So defining your own success, I feel like, is really important for anyone, and using money as a consequence of that, because it also takes away the disempowering beliefs of I can't have this and I can't have that. It's a flow state. So you can't be in your flow and attract the right souls that are assigned to work with you in this lifetime. You can't have that and not have the abundance, financial abundance, as a consequence of that. But more often than not, like what you'll have seen with yourself, you will have been operating on a level where those clients were only serving you at that point, but they wasn't meant to be your long-term clients. They wasn't meant to be like them, soul-aligned clients, because they were aligned with your disempowering beliefs and maybe some of your soul wounds, rather than your true authentic self. Now you notice a shift because the clients that you're working with are totally aligned to who you are, and then they believe in your work so much because they're aligned. So of course they do. So even if you parted for whatever reason, they would never attack your work because they're aligned with your work. Previously, they were aligned with your wounds. That's why they'd be like, well, we'll turn up to this free session, we'll claw what we can, but we're not going to the £5 paid one next week because, we don't see the value of that exchange. So that's not the law of resonance with the authentic self. It's the wounds itself, isn't it?
Totally. And also on a reflection on that as well, Sarah, it's something you said earlier about the alchemy. And I think what you were sharing earlier, I just want to echo back to you. I think because what I felt with you in the download, and it felt as energetic as anything else. And I noticed when I sit with masters, like I call you my business yogi master, like a Jedi business person. And what I really felt of you was your transmission. And I think because of the stories we've spoke about before about your journey around money and your healing, I think because you have such a powerful, you've created that alchemy within yourself. So like there's so many ways of doing that. And so yeah, what I noticed with you was your transmission around money, because you'd healed that part within yourself, was even as powerful as, if not even more powerful than the words themselves. So I think I would say that you're an energy worker around money. But like I talk about chakras and all that kind of stuff. But because of the clarity in your energy body around that and the work you've done on yourself, and also the amount of energy and alchemy work you've done through all of your practices, I think, yeah, I realized that I wanted to share that, but I forgot to share it before.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. I think that's what it is, isn't it? It's the journey of our inner work. It's the journey of how much work we've done on ourselves, and that's why it's a funny one, money, because people come out and they're like, okay, I've been on a course for 3 weeks and I'm now qualified to the same as you, just because you might have done a 12-month course and got the same accreditation by a different body. So we've got the same thing. I'm going to negate your 20 years of experience working on this, and I'm going to charge the same as you, and the value of money then becomes, and then someone might have an experience with that person and pay that. And then they're like, okay, well, I've just paid that. I know, I didn't get a great experience, but why would I work with you? Well, because the code and the transmission, the energetics, sometimes just being in someone's presence. And I don't care what anyone says. Like, I've seen people put posts on about this saying, there's people charging to be in their presence and it's ridiculous and this and that. And, by the way, I don't charge, just FYI, I don't charge for anyone to be in my presence. But, there's like people saying, oh, they charge you to be in the presence and they do this and they do that. And they attack people in that way and say there's no such thing as codings and this and that. As energy workers, we 100% know there's codings and we have transmissions and energetics. I know just by, I make a decision. I'm a qualified hypnotherapist and I did do clinical hypnotherapy. However, when I'm working with a client, it's not even the hypnotherapy I do. I just make a decision in my mind and intention. The intonation in my voice might change slightly. Boom, they're gone. And they're like in another realm, reality. For me, that's the energy. Like what you're saying, that's the energy. That's the coding. That's not anything else, but it's the transmission. So we know from experience that is true. Like that energy code and the transmission, the embodiment. And I probably mentioned on every single podcast to date, embodiment. People are probably bored of me mentioning it, but it's because for me, that is where your coding comes from, the embodiment. And I know I've sat in the presence of people and it felt inspired or felt motivated, or they've shifted a belief within me that I've had just by being in their energy. So yeah, there's power in that.
I think one of the powerful ones I see around that is someone like Eckhart Tolle. And people say they feel it around the Dalai Lama and various people, but when they walk out on stage, it's not necessarily what they're saying. But every single person, there can be 1,000 or more people in the audience, and every single person feels like, firstly, they're being spoke to individually. So something inside of them is responding to something inside of the speaker. But they say they just feel a transmission and they don't know quite what it was. And I think that's maybe the subtle body. We could call it the collective unconscious that I was sharing with you, Sarah, that at a big festival I just did, I led a meditation there for about 130 people. They were able to fit in the tent. And I can feel there's a different transmission. I've been through a bit of a healing process recently, and I feel the vibration has shifted again in my being. And when I gave the talk, this guided meditation, long-term meditators were coming up at the end and saying, oh my God, what did you just do? Like, I came with all this stress and this trauma from these things that have happened, and it just literally dropped out of my body. And I was honestly, I didn't try and show up my face, but I was as amazed as they were. It's like, I don't know what I've done. I don't know what I've just done, but I know that I'm clearing a bigger space within myself for the wisdom, the healing inherent of life to come through me. But I think what the healing work that perhaps we've done in our individual ways, you very much about all kinds of stuff in your life, but in the context of our conversation here about those money codes, is that we just become a clearer channel for the potential of life to come through, but without us having fear around certain aspects of it. So we just get worked by life as a very clear channel, so that abundance of love and money and health and happiness and wisdom can just come through us without us getting in the way of it, really.
Yeah, I love that. Well, how can people find you? So I'll put all your details in the show notes, but just very quickly, what's the easiest way to find you?
So I guess come and find me on social media. I'm very excited because I now have a blue tick next to my name, so I've landed.
You can't be cloned. You're now verified.
Absolutely. So find me on Facebook under my name, Graeme Waterfield. That's where I put a lot of it. I try and do daily posts and inspirational things on there.
I think you've got
I
a group
also,
as well, haven't you? As well.
yes, I haven't visited that as much. But I've tended to just mainly go through Facebook now.
Okay.
But I also, I have my website, which is Graeme Waterfield, GRAEME Waterfield.co.uk. And on there, there's all the information about my 8-week or 8-module course that I do with groups of men. Some men are working with me on a one-to-one basis, doing the sexual energy alchemy practices, but also, like yourself, like all of the stuff comes in on one-to-one work, so I can work with loads of different ways. I have my partner, my couples work with Sarah is on my website as well, and we're running a course towards the end of September. There's just a few spaces now left on that. So if anyone feels called to come and do some couples practice, that's available too. And I do my soul connection course, which is also one-to-one coaching of how helping people to connect with their light, that inner driving force, and to bring that through. So that's a few ways of, people can connect with me.
Well, I just want to, verify and confirm as well that I know that your work is amazing, because I've had it firsthand, when we've went into energy work together and different things and, sessions, and Sarah as well. So she'd done multiple workshops at Capucha, and I've been part of those as well. So yeah, I'll put all your details in the show notes. And Graeme, it's been an absolute pleasure and honour to have you on and to have this conversation in this way.
It has for me as well, Sarah, and I can't thank you enough for the alchemy you've performed in my life as well. That missing part was so big, about visibility and being in the world, and the speed and the power you had to transmute that so quickly it was like I just saw a miracle happen in my life and working with you. So the honor is equally mine to be able to have this chat with you. So thank you.
Thank you for that acknowledgement. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to the Genius Alchemist podcast. If this episode has ignited your curiosity or inspired you in some way, then I encourage you to subscribe and share with friends. For those that want to stay in the loop and be the first to know about future episodes, special offers and free resources, make sure to check out the link in the show notes. By joining my mailing list or reaching out through that link, you'll have exclusive access to all the latest updates and ways that you can connect with me. I look forward to sharing more inspiring stories with you all in future episodes.